Hey everyone, this is Cameron, the co-host and editor of Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcasts. Give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to us. We are where podcasts can be found. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the absolute disaster piece of the world of movies, TV, and just the overall world of animation, because good golly. Anyway, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And everyone's favorite Crazy Lemur, Bree.
Hey, mergers suck, and you know what also still sucks? Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, more on that later, but today's overall topic is kind of a different approach to a season of anime. Because for once, I have not watched a damn thing, but we'll get to that later. Let's start with some not good news, but also not bad news. Cameron, how do you feel about the fact that Smiling Friends is ending with the third season?
Mixed bag, Mike. Very, very mixed bag. On one hand, I fully support the fact that the creators want to go out on a high. They don't want to go through burnout. And just as another freaking reminder, people, animation is timely and it costs money. So they've been working on this longer than you actually, assume. Because it's like, hey, we're announcing a new show. Yeah, it probably took maybe 2 or so years before that announcement to happen.
And not only that, aren't Zach and Mike, more hands-on than most showrunners?
Yeah, so they were very much a core part of Smiling Friends. They couldn't leave and then you just let some new showrunners take.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Smiling Friends, because that show is, just so much of, their DNA.
Yeah, it's like what happens when, since we're talking about the winter 2026 anime season, it's when a new season of a show does not get the same creative team behind it. And it's it feels different, it's weird, sometimes for better or for worse, depending on the directors, writers, and animators that are on the project. This is like that situation with Smiling Friends. The creators are such an important part of the formula that if you took them away, it would just be like a random show. Just like a show about randomness and whatever. And to be fair to them, if they were made to continue for seasons 4 and 5, that unexpected randomness that people love about this show was going to start becoming predictable. Because even after 3 seasons, you can kind of start picking up a formula with the show. Not that that's a big deal breaker about the show. Every show is sooner or later you're going to find out that there's a rhythm to everything. So when the unexpected becomes expected, that's kind of a bad sign. It's like how rewatching Samurai Jack, and there's that one episode where Jack is in the graveyard and he has to fight all those zombies and such, and then Aku grabs his sword, and it's like, oh, I got your sword, Jack, I'm going to stab you with it. Of course now, you should know by now that that's not going to happen. Jack is either smart enough or he's aware enough that the sword will not hurt him, even though it did surprise him in that episode. Still,
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying about formula in and of itself is not a bad thing, but I can also see from their perspective that they probably are worried about not wanting to not wanting to run a very specific formula for them into the ground.
And the thing is, too, this is a personal opinion, there was something about season 3 that had a sense of finality to me that I wasn't necessarily totally shocked by the news, I mean, not that Smiling Friends had like a character arc or anything, or like an overarching story, but you kind of felt the sense that, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, like a lot of those stories felt very finite, and in the end of it all, like, well, like with Mr. Frog and such, it's like his whole arc of being a horrifically violent sociopath came to a close when they basically ran him through the ringer of like, what other plots could we do in one episode for Mr. Frog? And that was like the whole point. Mr. Frog was bored with his life and such. And then finding out how the origin of Smiling Friends happened, it's like, okay, now we know where we are as a like foundation of everything and such. Even though it's like, yeah, I would have watched seasons 4 and 5, but I respect that they wanted to go out on their own terms. Or if, like they said, maybe if we want to make some specials and such, like when they feel creatively revitalized and such. And who knows, maybe at one point they'll want to come back. But we should be respectful to them for wanting to do what they do. With that said, and this is all like unconfirmed or like not fully confirmed, so take the awareness of this announcement with a grain of salt. Sounds like they didn't really tell anyone that they were going to do this, and it sucks that now a bunch of animators who were ready for some financial job security are now out of a job in an industry that is basically not greenlighting anything.
This is going to sound bad, but you know what? You want to know what this reminds me of?
What?
Do you remember at the end of the Channel Awesome movie To Boldly Flee, when Doug Walker basically retired the Nostalgia Critic without really telling anyone?
Oh God, right.
Oh yeah, he did do that, and then everyone was like, "Oh no, what?" Because, like I said, I respect that the two guys who make Smiling Friends want to go out and do something else. But did they tell people about this? Because it sounds like nobody knew about this, especially the composer of the show was like, well, now I'm looking for work. And that's shitty because I get it. Creators deserve so much more power, respect, and the ability to do what they want. But the animators and artists are not in that same position. And to undercut the show from seasons 4 and 5 with not happening, it sucks. Because now it's like, well, what are we going to do now? Even though we kind of have a very good idea with this weird mutated third hand that's coming out of me, why they're canceling the show.
We'll get to that in a second, but
just like some final thoughts, I kind of feel like this decision was quote unquote planned, but it was planned very quickly. Like, I think this has kind of developed in like the last couple of months, because to me, like, the telling point, and I don't want to super speculate, is that the announcement was on the official Adult Swim YouTube channel and it was audio only.
I was gonna say one last thing before we move on to Cameron's third hand, which even that we'll talk more about on the next Zeroing Out. But as creators, I totally understand where Zach and Mike are coming from. But as leaders, I think it's very irresponsible to make such a decision without really taking care of the people below them.
Like, if they had a new show announcement, fine, that would be great. But it sounds like they're just going to work on something else, and it's up in the air with what's going to happen. And yes, we know there are 2 more episodes of Smiling Friends coming out. And I just don't believe that this is a elaborate April Fool's hoax. Like, Adult Swim has made people way too comfortable with an idea of, like, expect the unexpected in April. Saying like, haha, we actually made seasons 4 and 5 way ahead of time, so we're still going to get them. But no, I don't think that's the case. It seemed very, like, not within the last week, but like within the running of at least mid-February. Because otherwise, I don't know. And this is just speculation. We are just speculating. But I do find them being extremely irresponsible to just be like, hey, we're not going to make sure you have jobs, sorry. And I've always had like here's my hot take. I wonder how the internet folks that they brought onto the show were treated, because I don't know if they were unionized, like union paid or union worked, or if Smiling Friends was a union gig, because how do you pay internet personalities or like animators on the same level as others and such? I don't know. It's, as much as I've enjoyed Smiling Friends and as much as I respect what they're doing, I think it still sucks that they basically pulled the rug out from everyone and they just didn't leave any job security. And it sucks because, yeah, there's really nothing getting made that isn't already like a popular show getting a new season. And there are no new shows coming out. So, I don't know. It's frustrating. It's a bummer. I get it, but it's also, these guys could have done everything better.
You know what else is a bummer? The current state of this whole Warner Brothers merger with either Paramount and Netflix, because what happened was...
Not even 24 hours later.
Yeah, no, seriously. Netflix was outbidded by Paramount, and instead of raising their offer, Netflix is like, and understandably so, given their business model, they're just like, nah, we're good. You guys can have it.
Yeah, so that weird mutated third hand reason about this whole Smiling Friends situation, they probably cut themselves loose by the ankle Saw style to get the hell out before the merger happened. So they're not stuck doing Smiling Friends forever and such. This whole situation sucks. This industry sucks, man.
Yeah.
It is not run by people who want to respect and preserve art. It's being run by Silicon Valley dipshits and businessmen who are not thinking, what are some great ways to keep art alive? It's more, how can we spend less money? How can we pay less royalties? And how can we just say, fuck y'all, I want my 5th yacht?
Like, forget art. Like, if we're just talking, like, pure business, it's all short-term. Like, they have no long-term plans. If they have any foresight beyond 5 years, I would be shocked.
Yeah, seriously, because that's really what it feels like. How can we make the most money by spending the least? It hurts the people in the trenches, the ones who's actually making the art that they profit off of.
And, I mean, like, we try to keep a lot of this out, but even if Netflix and Ted Sarandos were not the best people or the best company in the world, the Ellisons fucking suck.
Like, not just Paramount, but in general, like, if you've seen, like, those things they've done with local AI data centers and putting them in neighborhoods that people don't want them, like, if it was just, they were, like, you know, the Murdochs, that would be one thing, but this is, like, Murdochs times 10.
And people are like, well, at least we get to keep our theatrical experiences. Who knows? Like, I saw some idiot in the Cartoon Research Facebook group being like, does this mean that Popeye will be back on the big screen? Who the fuck cares about a stupid cartoon right now?
Also, isn't Popeye public domain?
Yes, so the point is, people are about to lose their jobs. The Ellisons are about to basically shift everything on Warner Brothers and Paramount into even more of a conservative lean. And, like, lest we forget, they basically fired Colbert for saying fuck Trump. So, like, this was not a good solution, and for people who cherish the theatrical experience, they're probably going to make less movies, and the movies they do make are probably going to be shittier because of it, because who wants to work with the Ellisons? They're already, like, taking stuff off the release schedule. Apparently that Avatar movie they were going to shift onto.
Yeah, like the one thing everyone was gunning for, that people even had probably Paramount Plus subscriptions in the first place, because they're like, oh, we're going to have this movie, and then we're going to get more Avatar stuff. Hell yeah. And literally, we've seen nothing. Like, I'm not saying that the Disney and Fox merger was good. Like, no, that would be insane to say. But I kind of feel like what people thought the Disney-Fox merger was going to be on, like, that scale is what this actually is. Because let's just remember, the Disney Fox merger was just the purchase of like the 20th Century Fox studio and their IPs. It wasn't the Fox channels, anything like outside of FX and like Nat Geo. This is literally all of like the stuff Paramount already owns, so that would be, stuff that was formerly Viacom assets, and of course CBS, plus everything Warner owns, so that's Cartoon Network, Turner Classic Movies, CNN, the list goes on.
Like, no company should own that much, and yet we let this happen because politicians said, yeah, no, you know what, there's nothing wrong with this picture, because mergers can do no wrong.
$6 billion of layoffs.
Yeah, it's like, at the very least, there wouldn't be this cataclysmic of a failure of what's going to happen to WBD like it would have, like if it went to Netflix. At the very worst, Netflix lowers the theatrical days a movie is out. But it's like they wouldn't have done any of this shit because Netflix knows you catch more flies with honey. And unfortunately, that like, it's so funny to me that Warner Brothers, like David Zaslav was like, Paramount wants to buy us. Let's see, they had a pretty cataclysmic 2025 with basically no winners in their theatrical scene. And basically, their streaming service is a huge, basically it's a money pit right now because who cares about Paramount Plus? Nobody does. You just go on there to watch your Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reruns before they cancel those and then bring out that stupid live-action hybrid movie that they want to do, which, okay. Like, it sucks. It sucks. It fucking sucks. And I don't know, man. I don't know how we could do this. How can we stop this? Because the one silver lining through this whole thing is the deals hasn't gone through. They have basically a year to set this up. And if it goes nowhere, then WBD keeps being its own thing. But the fact that we have people in power playing with these monolithic studios, not because they love what they made from each studio, but how valuable the assets are. And that's not how you make art. Like, yes, you gotta make publicly loved art to make all that money back, even though a lot of y'all can just not spend $200 million fucking dollars on everything. It's just, it's so dire right now. Barely anything's getting made. What is getting made is not getting a chance. There are no new creatives getting to break through unless they work on some IP-laden bullshit. It's so frustrating. I don't know what else to say. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of talk about this all the time, that like one of the biggest differences between Hollywood and the anime industry is anime makes too much, whereas Hollywood is making way too little.
And I know someone tried to counteract me by saying, like, well, they released 500 movies last year. What are you talking about? And it's like, yeah, and a bunch of that is probably direct-to-video pig shit that nobody cares about. Like, go onto any torrent or pirating site and tell me you recognize half the shit that gets uploaded on there just because it hit VOD and such.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care. Unless it's some festival thing that could only get a VOD release. You don't care. What we care about is what's getting released that the studios are willing to talk about and show us and such. And it's just so weird how, like, Universal seems to be the only company right now that is aware that you have to have a variety of projects and products of, like, film and TV for people to enjoy. Otherwise, you're looking at lost cost and money and such. And even, like, Sony, to a degree, even though they're about to say, like, we're rebooting the Spider-Man-less Spider-Man universe, it's like, can you at least put out some movies that aren't that stupid franchise? Oh yeah, sure, we can. That's not a problem. I don't like the film industry and who runs it now. Which is funny because it's like, yes, let's dive into the winter anime season. So I wish I could say it's more hunky-dory, peachy key. Not when a manga publication website just openly admitted to saying, yeah, we rehired a known registered sex pest back onto the site and had their new manga out under a surname, like a pseudonym, like a fake name. And now, and it's like, yeah, and we don't care because who cares? As long as you bring us money.
What's even funnier is that because that came out, that they uncovered that, by the way, we hired another sex pest.
And everyone is just like, every known manga creator is now like, fuck this, man. Like, we're pulling our shit from your sites. Shout out to the creator of Ron My Half and Inuyasha, Rumiko Takahashi. She's a real one. She just makes her stuff and causes no trouble.
Good on her.
Nearly 5 decades have a serialized story that runs usually close to a decade, or at least half a decade. Constantly employed, never hear shit, being completely unproblematic since the late 70s.
It's wild how cool she is. It's just like, yeah, it's not hard to not be a dipshit. Try it sometimes, guys.
Seriously, why can't creators just be normal human beings? I know the reason why, but like, still, you don't have to be like a creep or like a pedophile or any sort of monster to create great art. You can just kind of be a person.
Just be a good person. It's like, and also it's just like the anime industry just experienced some losses. Like there was a composer guy who was known for making all the music, like a lot of iconic music for Gundam, passed away. I forgot his name. I feel bad about that. The Kyoto Animation president, Hideaki Hata, who co-founded the studio, along with co-founding Production IG, passed away at the age of 76. Like, KyoAni is one of the most realist studios out there. They get to basically greenlight and make whatever they want. They don't treat their creators like shit. And it's like one of the few studios where you can work on something and not hear a horror story about how bad it was to get it made and such. Like, it's the reverse Mappa situation where almost everything Mappa makes is going to have some horror story of production woes.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Like, at worst, you can say that KyoAni has a certain type of show that they tend to make. Very cute moe kind of stuff, which can be a little grating. But, hey, if that helps them treat their animators well, so be it.
And then, every once in a while, you'll get like a Violet Evergarden as a treat.
Or like City the Animation, which was such a delightful and probably one of the best animated shows of last year. Just like, you watch that show and it's like, wow, this is an anime production. And they had some great people on that because, whoa, we got to talk about that show, man.
Yes, we do.
But let's actually talk about the winter season because basically we're a broken record last year. We didn't think 2025 was that great of a year. It had some great shows. We even talked about some of them individually, like Rock is a Lady's Modesty. But it was very much like a filler year. It's like we got our returning shows and then we just didn't quite have the juice in terms of new, original, amazing shows outside of Gachiakuta because that one's just a banger on a banger on a banger. And it just keeps being like the coolest thing ever. And luckily, the winter 2026 season was better. I would argue it was a vast improvement over a huge majority of last year. Not to say it didn't have its stinkers, because good lord, it did. We're doing this as, like, the setup is, y'all ask me some questions about what I experienced from this season, and I'll just be as bluntly honest as possible about what I thought about.
So you kind of already answered my first question. So really, I just wanted to ask, because normally I'm right with you in the coal mines watching these shows, but because life is life, I didn't get to do that this season. So I'll say this: compared to last winter, how does this one hold up?
I think this holds up very well. Like, yes, there are returning shows. Here's how stacked this one season is in terms of returning shows. You had Frieren Beyond Journey's End Season 2, Jujutsu Kaisen The Calling Game Part 1, Hell's Paradise Season 2, Oshinoko Season 3, Fire Force, and a new entry in the Fate franchise, Fate/Strange Fate, come out. And I mean that's a pretty stacked season, and that's not even counting the My Hero Academia Vigilantes Season 2, the new Trigun season. Like, you already had enough if you wanted to just watch the returning shows. But I found much more enjoyable shows from this winter season, from what I recall, more than the last winter season, where I think you and I were just kind of like, it's fine.
Yeah. I am happy to hear about the ones that you did end up enjoying, because they seem like the ones we've been doing this thing for like 5 years. I think by now you and I both kind of know each other's taste.
Well, it's because, and for better or for worse, anime has become so production lined that you know what kind of shows are getting made. You know what kind of shows they're going to be, even if you know nothing about the source material they're from. That's the thing. Anime is not like an A24 trailer where you get like a base idea what the movie's about until you actually watch it, and then it's like,
if you know, you know.
Yeah, you kind of had to twist what the actual movie's about to make it more approachable to normies and such. And that's not a bad thing. That's what you have to do with a trailer. But if you watch an A24 film, and it's not like this is for every A24 movie, but sometimes the movie that you get from the trailer is not the movie you get when you see it in theaters. Except for what sounds like that Pillion movie, which sounds exactly what it's being advertised.
But I do have a question. So, we know we have our usual suspects, like, we're always going to get, like, a couple of isekai every season, and it will probably be that way until morale improves. I'm kidding. But here's my actual question. So, in terms of, like, genre-specific shows, let's just say, like, your romance, if you want to get in more specifics, yuri or, like, yaoi, or if you have, like, your, action adventure, like, how good would you say, genre definers are this season?
I would say the romance comedy grab bag of shows were way better than any other show on, like, genre here, because I would say there was one good fantasy show, and there were a few good, like, non-isekai action shows, but I would say if you wanted to invest your time with the winter season, you would have to watch the rom-coms. Like, there was The Invisible Man and His Soon-to-Be Wife, which is about a world where there are, like, fantastical creature people, humanoids, and it takes place in this, like, detective agency where the main couple of the show is a literal invisible man and a blind woman who, like, are good friends. They work well together, and the romance is very cute. It's not like the most groundbreaking show. I mean, I'm sure you can watch this show and find its thematic elements very surface level, which is not bad. Sometimes when people are like, I'm going to focus on the themes, man, you forget to make a show that's enjoyable, or a movie that's enjoyable and such. And yes, you can really take, like, a look at, like, how a blind woman falling for an invisible man is like, she metaphorically and literally cannot see him. So she loves him for his character, for his personality. Like, literally. Like, nothing's holding him back outside of he's invisible. And it has a good cast of side characters and what have you. And there are some really funny moments. Like, the Invisible Man is talking to this Cyclops couple where a girlfriend of the couple suspected her boyfriend or husband, I forgot what it was, of cheating. And things got a little violent, and the Invisible Man got scratched by the Cyclops claws. But then everything calmed down when they realized, like, wait, you're an Invisible Man and you still bleed? Huh. That's kind of wild. I forgot what we were fighting about.
Damn.
And then there was, like, I think the double whammy of In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, which is about a girl who goes to a school. Obviously, it's a high school romance kind of thing, where she is constantly mistaken for a guy. Like, she's nicknamed, like, the prince of the school because she looks like such a handsome young man, even though she's a girl. And there's this guy who falls for her, and at first he was just like, oh, wait, she's a girl? Huh. Thought he was just a good-looking guy, but hey, cool. It's like, no issue there. He was going to fall for this person no matter what gender or sexual orientation they identified as. But it also, like, dives into, like, the insecurities that comes with how we define beauty in a very traditional, generic sense of, if you're a guy, you're tall, chiseled, like, short hair, muscular, sometimes depending on your taste. And as a girl, it's very, like, narrow, like, thin, tall, long hair, beautiful, and what have you. And it deals with that because he's also, like, extremely tall. These are anime characters. If they aren't 6 feet at every story lineup, I don't know what you're doing it wrong.
If they don't have the anatomy of, like, a store mannequin, like, you know, the store mannequins that have, like, the really heightened pecs, then you're doing something terribly wrong.
Yep.
But it was like, it focused on the characters, which I don't know why it's so hard for anime to do that, because it's like creators, or whether it's through editorializing or just a bad adaptation, seem to focus on a basic idea, archetypes, and then just run with it. Instead, it's like some of these people, like creators, are like, but I'm going to take that next step and to build actual living, like, quote-unquote realistic characters and such. And I don't know if, like, Bree, this has ever been, like, a topic in the writing classes you've taken about, like, the difference between an archetype and, like, an actual fleshed out character. But it just seems like someone, like, these creatives need to take writing lessons sometimes, or, like, storytelling or something like that. Like, I don't know.
You know what, here's, like, my personal opinion. I mean, when I've taken a writing class or, like, have had a mentorship, the objective is to organically, like, write a story or whatever. I mean, archetypes can still happen, but you don't just, like, plot down in it. Like, everything character-wise and story-wise should be, like, the happenstance of, like, what's happening to the character, because the characters should push the story forward. I mean, because that stories are conflict. Even if it's not, like, an Attack on Titan, like, the world is ending post-apocalyptic, like, nonsense. Even if I'm like, oh my god, my hair's messy for picture day, like, that's still conflict. Like, you have to have something, like, driving everything forward. And if you're just leaning on, like, tropes and stuff, I don't feel like you're actually telling a story. I mean, this is more my personal opinion. I feel like they're good groundwork to maybe build a story around, but if you're just doing, like, oh, and this is probably the reason why I don't really fuck with isekai, is that if you keep having these, like, JRPG tropes without, like, having, like, more to it, I'm like, okay, I don't give a shit.
Well, it's funny because, like, the other rom-com show that I really loved from this season was You and I Are Polar Opposites, which I was kind of ready to write this off as like, okay, are we even trying anymore with the rom-com genre? But it actually does play with the tropes of like teenage rom-com anime, because it's about like a really preppy, like blissfully happy. I don't want to say she's a manic pixie dream girl, but it's that kind of thing, and a stoic, bookish type, and how instead of him being like, "Oh my god, I really love her," like, but I don't know how to talk to her, or it's like, I can't believe that we might be falling for each other. She really, really wants to, is going to be ride or die with this guy. And it's really cute because they do explore, like, again, the insecurities of the archetypes that they have and how people see them. Where she has to be the preppy, popular girl. And it would be weird if she went after this nerdy, bookish type. And how he feels like he has to uphold this kind of image because he doesn't know how to interact with her. But it's very wholesome, very, very funny. Like, some of the biggest laughs you'll get will be from this show. It's probably one of the funniest rom-coms of the entire season, and probably the standard point of where I'll be holding rom-coms this year for anime and such. It's that good because the side characters are also really fun and interesting. They all have their own like tropish archetypes, but they feel fleshed out. And again, that's the overarching conflict is getting over your insecurities and how people will view you. Like, shout out to this and the Into Clear Moonlit Dusk. These people start dating by at least episode 2.
Yay!
So it's no longer will they, won't they, or like that one meme that goes around, like one of the tropes of it takes 12 to 13 episodes to finally see if they will or won't they, and it's like, let's fucking go!
That makes me so happy as someone who is getting really tired of the will they won't they trope, which they're kind of doing that again with the Scrubs revival because no, don't worry, the revival itself is good, but there's a plot point involving JD and Elliot that's like, oh no, we're doing that again.
Reminds me of the whole thing with the Fry and Leela will they won't they stay together plot lines of Futurama, where it's like, they're together, get over it, choose a new plot line.
Like, there's at least 2 or 3 different continuities where they're together. It's like, Jesus Christ. I think there's a world for a good will they won't they, but if it's like everyone, and if it's especially like if it's something like Futurama and we're just retreading the same thing again and again, I'm like, please don't.
Please, just for the love of God, move the story forward. Which is why King of the Hill was so good, because it actually moved the story forward. It gave us new conflicts, new interesting ways to take the characters. Like, if it was still stuck with Bobby being 13, I think I would have just said, fuck this show.
Thank God they didn't do that.
But what's also nice is that even some of the more, like, romance-adjacent shows, like Tamon's B-Side, are delightful, because Tamon's B-Side is, like, it almost leans into being pop idol propaganda, where it's like, the fans will save the day for, or, like, won't you please think of the idols and such. And it has one hardcore fan of this one boy group who gets to be like a house cleaner for one of the bandmates. And it's like, at first when you hear this, it's like, oh god, here we go. It's like, it happens to be the house owned by her favorite idol member of that idol group that she loves. But what the show turned into is actually looks into the constant nightmare, stress-inducing world of what it means to be a pop idol. Because when she sees him on, like, you know, performing on TV or whatever, he's like, haha, I'm so cool and happy, like, and I love you all. When he's by himself, he is a stressed out ball of anxiety because he does not like dealing with anyone, And he is so worried with any interaction with anyone will go viral and end his career. Like, he is like the most creepiest. Well, I mean, like, he's creepy in a way of like, he doesn't know how to act. Like, I don't know how to interact. I kind of missed that step in the building process. Because otherwise, like, for example, there's a villainess anime this season, and it is, well, there are two of them. The villainess is adored by the prince of the neighboring kingdom. The best thing you can say about that show and its romance is, at least it plays it straightforward. Because it doesn't have a single original bone in its body. It is painfully generic. Nothing interesting about it. Why did this get made? Who thought this was unique enough? Because we've kind of hit that villainous arc of like, we've done everything with it. Stop making them.
Okay, this actually leads into one of my questions. So one of the questions I have is, which of our traditionally least favorite genres have the most room to grow, and which are just simply dead on arrival?
Well, I think there are some areas for the isekai genre to grow still. They just need to get the fuck over being a power fantasy. Like, it's okay to just start it as a fantasy show where we start them as kids to growing up to being adults and whatever. Fine, whatever. It's a generic, like, done to death plot point, but at least you don't have to say, oh wow, I got renewed into a world and whatever, I'm a baby.
Wah, now I'm like level 100 badass.
Yeah, that's a lot of these things, and I feel like there's, like, if you really want me to say what one can just be like, stop it, it's the edgelord tinged revenge fantasy anime. Like, you're gonna be like, wow, is this an edgelord series? Yeah, it's called Roll Over and Die.
Yeah, that's even the way Jeff from Mother's Basement described it. It's like, you know, he's kind of speaking positively of it to some extent. It showed up on both his ones to watch and hottest trash. And who knows, maybe just because I'm curious, I might check it out on my own time. But like, I can see why you think like that's the kind of stuff that we just need to like nip in the bud.
Because otherwise, it's like, one of the other things that I want to see nipped in the bud are, we're going to be a parody of tropes of a certain genre, because one of the other rom-com anime of the season is you can't be in a rom-com with your childhood friends. And this show thinks it's so clever because it is painfully, to the utmost degree, aware of the rom-com tropes. Childhood friends, the tsundere, the weird, awkward fan servicey, like, incidences and such, the harem elements. It's aware of it. But it's aware of it in a sense of, we're still going to play them completely straight. So then it's like, then you're just making a generic rom-com then. What are you doing? Like, and we've had good parody, spoof, or meta textual takes on like the rom-com genre or like the isekai genre. But if you don't do anything with it, then you're not really changing anything about it. Your dialogue is just going to be like, wow, I can't believe this happens just like in the manga and the anime.
It's kind of like my catchphrase. My catchphrase from a couple seasons ago was, if you're not going to be good, at least be funny. And as far as like rom-coms or harem goes, I don't think anything is going to top 100 Girlfriends like anytime soon.
Oh god, no.
100 Girlfriends is just like, hey, we're going to be funny, wholesome, horny, sleazy, crazy, cracked out, and we're not going to stop because we have 100 girls to get to, and we're going to do everything in our power to be everything at once with this one. Or another kind of thing we need to nip in the bud, stop having slave elements in your shows.
Oh my god, yes. Jesus Christ. Like, guys, it's 2026. Why are we doing this?
And also, please, for the love of God, if you're going to have a character banished from their family or banished from the hero's party, at least come up with a reasonable explanation and not something stupid. Like, easygoing territory defense by the optimistic lord, which I saw that Mother's Basement put this in their best, and I highly disagree with that. I think it's fine. It has decent enough characters that are entertaining enough. I like everything about the show to like a 6 out of 10 degree, but then it goes into like a 4 out of 10 because in the first episode, it's like, I'm going to buy a slave, but I'm a good guy, so that means the slave is going to like me and I'm a good person. Instead of like, you're a good person if you just let the slave go. You're not a good person if you keep the slave, and then somehow it gets instant Stockholm syndrome of like, you're the best person that's ever happened to me because of rote writing. And the banished from the heroes party thing with this show. His whole family has offensive magic, like fire, ice, whatever. His is basically tower defense crafting magic. And the family's like, well, that just can't be. We're going to banish you because your powers are worthless. And it's like, why are you saying I can craft weapons out of nothing as worthless? The boy should have just grabbed a napkin and basically made it into a knife to stab the dad. Just like, it's like, boom, there. How useless is that now, Dad? Oh, but you know what? At least it's not an adventurer's daily grind at age 29.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So here's the thing. It sets itself up as like a single dad taking care of their daughter kind of show, which we've had Sweetness and Lightning, and there are other shows that are like that, or they like found family, father-daughter adjacent bonds that are completely wholesome and nothing creepy happens to them. Guess what rule this one breaks?
Oh no. Oh no.
You ever hear a bunny drop? Because it kind of goes that route. I say that because this guy's like, I've been adventuring all my life so I don't have to be poor and I can help people. Finds a young girl who wants to thrive and survive on her own, but can't make it through the dungeon. And so he's just like, I gotta look after her and I gotta take care of her. And I'm gonna be like a father adjacent figure to her. And it could have just stopped there. Like I said, this was like a 5 out of 10 show. But it goes to a 1 out of 10 when the twist is, at night, she turns into a succubus. Full-figured, like, adult succubus. And then you look at the rest of the party members that are going to be in this show, and they're all, like, just so happen to be short-statured women or girls that look childlike in design. And it's like, this is pedophile bait. Fuck this. Like, dude, I am not going to wait around for this show to be like, at night I could have fun with this girl. It's like, no, you're going to jail if you think that, buddy.
Jesus Christ.
Like, why would you do that? Like, is that your thing, author? Do I need to send the police your direction? And because at the very least, if you wanted to have like a wholesome father-daughter fantasy anime, The Demon's Daughter is Too Kind is literally that. The Demon Lord wants to take over the world, but his daughter is way too kind to everyone. And the female lieutenant is like, what the hell is going on here? Why is she such a nice person? And then she sees her interact with her dad, and it's like, oh, I guess we saw what tree this apple fell from. Because the dad's like a total sweetheart. And it's not creepy at all. It's surprisingly wholesome and funny. Like, I highly recommend it. Even if it still does have some of that anime bullshit.
Okay, so you transitioned beautifully into my next question. Of the shows that premiered this season, which would you recommend for those who genuinely cannot stand anime's most obnoxious elements? In other words, anime bullshit.
So, if you want to go on the low end of anime bullshit, but still want some of that fantastical anime-ness, I would recommend Champignon Witch. I don't know if I said that correctly or not, but it's about a witch who is isolated from the world around her, and because of her magic, which is making extremely poisonous mushrooms and such. And she comes across this person who she thinks like, okay, I gotta take care of this person. And how that conflicts with her role as a witch and the magical world around her and the people who are in that magical world. And there's some anime nonsense with the slice of life drama / mystery show Wash It All Away, which is about a young woman who runs a laundry store and does laundry for everyone in her small coastal town and such. And yet you think it's just going to be all about her and her interactions with the people around her. But she says one line and it's basically it's the only thing I remember I can do. So now it's what happened with her? Who is she? Why do some of these characters act strange around here? What are their connections? And I want that to be I don't know how else to say this. I think people sometimes do not know how to approach shows like this. Not in a creative sense, but in a way of talking about it, because we all gritch and groan about isekais, bad rom-coms, harem, stuff, anime bullshit all the time, when a show that is very much not that, and then they're just I don't know if I'd watch this again. And then it's but it's everything you say you want. What are you talking about?
Yeah, do you not want this?
I don't know what you want then. Or, at the very least, I can understand if it's not your cup of tea, because otherwise you get shows like The Daily Life of a Part-Time Torturer, where I think this show is for people who want a dark comedy approach to, the grind of doing part-time work in a show where the world this show takes place in has legalized torture, so you can work part-time as a torturer. And I feel like that's kind of what it's going for, but it's also maybe some slight yaoi boy love, S&M kind of stuff. But it's also but it's not funny enough and it's not kinky enough to go the distance. So, and it seems in poor taste in some regards, because of, especially with what's going on around the US right now. And I'm sure other parts of the world, but still. It's who was this made for? That's one of those rare things where it's I don't know what anime crowd this is made for. But if you want more anime where it treats you with a little more respect for your time and patience with everything, I would say maybe on the blunter side of things, I would recommend A Darwin Incident, because even though with its out there premise of a girl bonding with a half chimpanzee, half human hybrid that was saved from an animal research laboratory, it dives into really complex and very messy issues that are very human through the lens of a not so human individual. And even though it's extremely blunt with what it wants to talk about, and I wish it had a better production value, it's very stiff for a premise with the designs that it goes with. It just needed a Mappa or a Cloverworks kind of polish to it, because something tells me they spent a lot of that budget on the official Hige Dandism song that they got for the opening. But it's this is one of those shows where it's yeah, we can have some philosophical conversations. And even though I don't know where it's going to go ultimately, with the fact that this show wants to talk about this stuff, but also be, anime, it still has more substance to its bones than most of the anime you're ever going to get. At least it's given me something to think about. And it's not, thank God I don't have to watch that again.
Yeah, because this was the one that I was kind of looking forward to the most, or at the very least was the most curious about, but happy to hear that it's one of the good ones.
And one of the biggest surprises of this season that really does, yeah, it has some anime bullshit, especially with what these characters dress in, because it's called Shibo Yugi, playing death games to put food on a table, which is a death battle anime where there's no real, there's action and there's intensity and horror with the setting and the traps that these girls find themselves in. But it takes its time. It is methodical, slow-paced, atmospheric, and it's like really darn good, because death battle anime are kind of like edgy nonsense most of the time, but where it's like, okay, whatever, who cares? You're not going to care. Here, yes, all the girls are dressed as like Victorian French maid outfit, like with like the longer dress, not the fetish French maid outfits and such. And even though there are moments later on where it's like, oh, we got to dress in bunny outfits, okay, whatever. But the fact is, you learn these little story details, like the fact that when these girls are battling in these games, their whole body, like blood and stuff, are replaced with like cotton. Basically, they're living, walking dolls that go through these saw-like traps and rooms to try to thrive and survive.
Honestly, I kind of like that. I mean, a gore is fine and all, but I kind of feel like there's a little extra element of fucked up by doing that.
Oh yeah, it's like they don't treat these people as people. They're dolls. Literally playing doll, like the lives of these people like they were dolls. And like figuratively and metaphorically. Because we don't need like another nihilistic worldview where it's like, haha, everything sucks, so I'm gonna survive it all. Listen, if I wanted to watch a death battle movie or show, I'd watch Battle Royale. Okay? Really, you don't need any others than that. Or, like, really, the show that I think I called that was going to be the best of the season. And maybe some part of me was like worried that like maybe I'll be wrong and this one's going to be like really bad. But the most anime without the anime nonsense that I would recommend to people watching, like if they really wanted to get into anime but didn't want to go into the weird, abstract, and absurd stuff first, watch Journal with Witch. Like, there's a reason why Kotaku released an article saying Journal with Witch is like the anime of the winter season. Because it has adult characters, adult themes, and it has no anime bullshit. No fan service, no like quirky, wacky antics.
So you're saying it's Michelin dining?
Yeah, this is I'm having Wagyu steak with a lobster tail. Fancy dining.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, like compared to everything else. Because it's about this writer, like an author, who one day has to take in her niece, who is 15 years old, whose parents died in an accident. And the way this show approaches this story is with such respect to the fact that like apparently there's some like underlying drama within this family, because the main character, the sister to the dead mom, does not like her sister, and there's some turmoil within the overall family because there's like, is she not like the like legitimate child between them? And then I've heard this, I've heard that, and such. And the only one to cut through the bullshit is the aunt, who's like, listen, I hate that I did not like your mom. I hate that I still have all this anger even after she's gone. You're going to come live with me because I'm not going to let you get passed around by these people who do not care about you. I do. And you know what? If you're having a hard time dealing with the emotions of losing your family and just having to like convey these emotions and just thoughts, write it in a journal. And the way that they approach the 15-year-old is that like, I am alone in a desert. And they don't just say that like, because, you know, sometimes anime has like the bad issue of over-explaining and telling than showing everything. But here, as she explains it, it's like the world changes around her, where she finds herself alone in a sandy desert with nothing in sight about, like, for her life. And she doesn't know where to go, what to do. And the aunt, the writer, is like, shows up next to her. It's like, I perfectly understand your situation right now. I understand where you are coming from. And there's still like small little conflicts here and there. It's just not the end of the world kind of thing. It's a very human story, which that's the thing with so many authors. Again, whether it's an executive meddling nonsense or just some creatives just aren't good storytellers. Someone here had a story they wanted to tell. Whether it's a personal, intimate story of dealing with a lost family, like loved one from a family or whatever, someone wanted to actually tell a story. It's like, once this gets dubbed, I want to show this to my folks because I think they would love this alongside Odd Taxi. With and I know a show like Odd Taxi still has its weird Fargo meets Animal Crossing premise, but it's still a very human story about real human emotions and feelings and themes. And the fact that it just seems so rare in the industry to get shows like this greenlit and made, or just even in manga and whatever. It's so refreshing to see a show like Journal with Witch, even though that title is just say Journal with the Witch or something like that. Don't just...
But then it won't be whimsical.
But still, it's it's so good. It's definitely one I feel like we need to talk about on this show. Along with the Darwin incident and Shibo Yugi. And if you do want to jump into a show like an anime and deal with some of the anime bullshit, I would recommend Sentence to be a Hero. Because now, superficially, the reason why I think people would actually get into this show is because it has some of the best animation of any show this season. It's got dynamic shots, fluid animation, something that you would see only in theatrical animation. It's not to that point, because it still does its anime stuff, but the fact that there's no real downgrade after episode 1, which is a double-length episode, by the way, it also just has a very timely premise and plot of an ex-royal knight is in a world that is sentenced to where if you, in this world, if you are arrested for whatever, murder, thievery, terrorism, or whatever, the worst punishment you get is that you are labeled a hero. Basically, what if Suicide Squad, but the punishment was, even if you die, you get brought back to life. It's like that World War I indie pilot we talked about, where you could die and not get brought back, or you could get brought back and then put on a stake and such. And every time you are brought back, you lose a piece of yourself every single time. Not literally, but metaphorically, memory-wise. And our main character realizes that he's teaming up with a goddess to go on these missions with alongside other fellow heroes. And by the way, nobody looks highly upon heroes in this world. It's basically you're not even a criminal. You're below a criminal. You're scum of the earth. Which, yes, it does kind of lean in onto some edgy anime nonsense. But it's also very timely because the first episode ends with you cannot just rely and put your trust and faith into the church or the government. And it's hey, how timely of you to come out. Let me introduce you to the world right now. And man, the action is dynamite. Just very good. And I like the characters. Granted, I wish anime would stop doing the, I'm the goddess, but I look like a 10-year-old kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, granted, they're not doing any lolicon creepy pedo stuff with her. They dress her modestly. You're about to go into war. You're going to wear armor and shit. And there is some past history with our main character because apparently he killed the god that he was in contract with. Which he's yeah, because she was getting infected by this demonic force, so I had to kill her. But then the church basically is but there's never been a record about this happening. Why should we believe you? And it's just oh, they erase that shit from public record. So it's got a lot of complexity to it, which is more than you will ever freaking get with most anime that comes out. Even if, again, it's kind of an edgy show, but it kind of revels in it. It even makes fun of the fact that some of these character names are dumb as hell. It's like looking into a Gundam series.
Or like Kojima class of character naming.
Exactly. So it seems at the very least it's aware of it. And it's a lot more fun because you're not going to watch stuff like Noble Reincarnation or Hell Mode, Dead Account, or Kunan the Sorcerer Can See, which I was very disappointed by that show because it's about a main character. It's a pure fantasy show where our main character is born blind and starts to use magic to traverse the world around him. But then it becomes just more wish fulfillment kind of stuff. And it's just like, I don't care. You wasted your premise. I don't care. Which is funny because one of the, like, and this is one of those, like, I think if you like rom-com and you like fantasy, you should see Isekai Office Worker, which is about how an accountant gets isekai'd into another world with a girl who was chosen to be the holy maiden to save our land. But he is just like, listen, I came here on accident. I wasn't meant to be here. Which is becoming a much more common trope after campfire cooking in another world, where it's like, yeah, I wasn't meant to be here, y'all. What am I supposed to do? But it is a very well made, fun rom-com thing where, yes, he doesn't get like, I am the ultimate, I can do all the powers and get all the chicks. Because early on in the show, he gets into a romantic relationship with the captain of the guards. It is very gay and very good.
Ooh.
And it's so funny because by the second episode, they're like, the captain of the guards is like, God damn it, why am I here teaching a girl who doesn't know anything about magic? Well, I can go see this guy that came with her, and I can maybe get in some smooches. This is bullshit. I don't want to be here right now. Kind of mindset. And they both do that. It's very cute and very yaoi coded. But I will say, they don't show the sex, but they do have a few tasteful images. Let's just say
Spicy.
Spicy indeed. Because, well, it's also funny because, like, this season also brought us Hana Kimi, which was like way back in the day, the show of a girl goes to an all boys school disguised as a boy. Like, if this show was never made, this manga was never made, we wouldn't have gone an Oran High School Host Club. Like, it's that important of a show. And while it's still very good, you can't help but compare and contrast it to the rom-coms that in shows of its kind that came after it. Like, it's still good. It's still enjoyable, especially with this adaptation. The characters are a lot of fun, and it definitely helps that there's a dub to make this enjoyable, and the actors are having a lot of fun. It just comes off generic now. It's not its fault that its adaptation came out 2 decades later, let's just say. You know?
Yeah, it suffered from the John Carter effect.
Yeah. Poor John Carter.
I know, exactly. But that's, like, again, a lot of very interesting shows. And I would say there were more interesting shows than just downright slop shows. Like, I would say, like, at the absolute worst you get is the Adventurer's Daily Grind because of what it unfolds into, or you get the Oedo Fire Slayer, which, cool, old historical firefighter anime. Sounds like a cool idea. Too bad that the anime industry is stretching itself so thin that the studio that is making this, on top of, I think, 1 or 2 other shows, had to use the ugliest CGI animation I've seen in a while. Like, it's bad. It is so distracting that I couldn't get past episode 1.
Is it worse than X-Arm?
I would say X-Arm is still worse because that was given to a studio that had no idea what they were doing.
X-Arm is a masterpiece in being a disaster.
Exactly, because X-Arm is just such a monumental disaster and failure of ego that even when they were told 500 times, do not do this, they did it anyway. Oedo Fire Slayer CGI is just a victim of the fact that they just don't have enough people and time to make it look good.
So it's more a Berserk 2016 situation.
Exactly, because this anime industry just doesn't know that it cannot greenlight half of this shit. Like, even if you were going to greenlight it, give it a year, give it 2 years, because that's what happened with the One Punch Man Season 3 fiasco, was that the production committee was given the team at JC staff under a year to make One Punch Man Season 3. Yeah, under the horrific conditions of the anime industry, I'm not shocked that One Punch Man Season 3 became a disaster, when it didn't need to.
And the thing for One Punch Man, that could very well be it for it, because I kind of can't imagine that those Blu-rays are going to sell well and it's going to get a season 4.
Yeah, I think that show is past its prime.
Yeah, because of how the anime industry works, the people who make that first season special, by the time they want to make a new season, they're nowhere to be found. Or they're nowhere to be found because they're working on other projects. And I just think it's okay to say that we can just not greenlight, or if that's not a possibility, you wait until there's an opening and such. And I know not everyone can be Mappa, Cloverworks, Studio Wit, and such, but they can be if you just treated your animators better. You treated your artists better, not work under ridiculous timelines and crunch production cycles and such. And sometimes it's just like a good idea to just not greenlight something because it's part of a popular genre. Because, like, isekais have terrible retention holds on viewers that, unless you're like reincarnation as a slime or jobless reincarnation, you're not going to have holdovers from that.
No,
Yeah,
I mean, they're otaku bait. I mean, like in the late 2000s, to early 2010s, there was Moe. It just didn't have evolution from that. It just, bait for like the lowest common denominator.
And this is something I want to kind of end the discussion of this season before I say like my favorites and my least favorites of the season. I want to talk about Hideaki Anno's comments about not worrying about what overseas audience or overall audiences think about your production. Make what you want, ignore what everyone else is going to say about it, which I understand the tone and the ideal of that, but I feel like at one point you gotta know that the short-term otaku basement-dwelling bait is not going to be a thing you can hold on to forever. Because with the fact that we get so many fantasy, like power fantasy isekais that just get left in a bin, like, if there was ever complete anime series in a Walmart bin, most of them would be isekai. I bet you that.
I was gonna say the same thing, and given that Hideaki Anno is only about like the same age as my dad, I still think his perception on anime is kind of outdated. That the industry is leaning much more global now than it was even 10 years ago. So, like, to the point that, like, you have American animators working on One Piece.
It's like, it just seems very ignorant for him to say that. And no offense to him, but I don't think he should speak. I mean, I think it's okay for him to say this stuff, but he also has a privileged position to basically do whatever he wants because he knows people will watch it. And listen, and it's not like I'm not looking forward to the new Evangelion series by the guy who made Nier. I'm very curious about how that's going to unfold. But Hideaki Anno can say this. Well, it's like what we talked about earlier with the Smiling Friends situation. Hideaki Anno is in a position where he can make whatever he wants, and he just chooses to do stuff that he grew up with, whether it's Ultraman, Kamen Rider, giant mech shows, Gundam, whatever. Fine, that's cool, he gets to do that. But I do think he knows that anime has a much more global audience. And while I don't want anime to lose its specialness, to me, what's special about anime is the diversity of stories and premises. It's not how hot are the anime girls or how nerdy is this show. Because we've seen those like shows that are like, oh, a loving homage to everything otaku. It's wonderful. And then it's like, oh, no, wait, this show was made by someone who deeply believes in that otaku culture is the best culture. And it's like, no. I mean, and I love anime, but like I said, the one show, like, unless you're not into like really wacky rom-com stuff, I would recommend to non-anime fans this season is Journal with Witch. Like, hands down, the one that I knew was going to be the most acclaimed, but also knew that nobody was going to watch this show because it's not it doesn't have a harem. It's not a power fantasy, which, y'all, how many power fantasies do you need? You're not going to care about 90% of them. You're going to watch the one that has the most appealing designs and not think any further on that.
And probably the one with the most booba.
Yep.
It's like, you're not going to think about that one villainous show I talked about. The one who fell in love with a prince from a neighboring kingdom. Which, by the way, has the dumbest premise I've ever heard of, where, oh, she died and became the villainess in her favorite game, but she was looking forward to the sequel because it had a hot boy on there. So somehow the world of the first game gets a surprise DLC download of the boy from the second game before the game even came out. Like, she died before the second game came out, so the world is like, hey,
better hope that game ain't developed by Nintendo.
Because you're not going to think about that. You're going to think of something like the Holy Grail of Ares, which has such a fun twist on the villainous genre, where this young noble woman sees this villainous, quote-unquote, woman get executed. But then it becomes like Bridgerton mixed with the season 0 of Yu-Gi-Oh! And if you know what I mean.
That sounds awesome.
Because the villainess takes over the body of the noble, like, woman, like, lead character. And helps her, because, like, the problem is her noble family is too nice and they get taken advantage of because of that kindness. And the villainess is there to help her out of situations and solve the puzzles and such. No confirmation on if there's a children's card game attached to it, but but it's like, at least with the Holy Grail of Ares, you get both a intriguing twist to the formula, and if you're just kind of surface level for everything, there are the boobs. Okay, like, the villainess is quite designed for a certain crowd. And I'm not saying as an insult, so I'm just saying. Like, that's the thing. I feel like anime creators can start being a little more critical of the kind of shows that are coming out, and not just be like, well, it's trash, so it's enjoyable. It's a 5 out of 5 show, and it's just like, you are keenly aware of the dumpster fire condition that these shows are getting made in. And yet you're like, give me more slop, please. And it's just like, no. I mean, I don't want to yuck your yum too hard, but I kind of want to yuck the yum a little with how people discuss this stuff. Because, again, like, about 60 shows, both new and returning, and short form and long form shows are coming out basically every single 3-month, like, quarter of the year now. And you don't need these. You don't need all of this. You're not going to care about half of this. You're not going to even watch all of this. You're going to watch the same returning shows because they have a stranglehold on your attention span. And unless these shows do something really good with their premises or are the fun kind of trashy, then you're going to drop them by episode 3.
Exactly.
Like, I guess, like, what would you guys define at, like, to the last question, I guess I'll ask y'all. What would y'all define as a good trashy anime? Like, what is a good trashy story where it's like, yeah, it's kind of schlocky and such, but it's a lot of fun because it's still well executed. Compared to, like, this is just trash, terribly made all around and not fun kind of thing.
God.
I don't really have a specific answer, but I'm going to go back to my old catchphrase. If you're not going to be good, at least be funny.
That's basically my relationship with Citrus, because God, that show is a train wreck.
Is that the one where it's like, I can't believe I'm falling for my sister? Or
Yeah, yes, one of the many ones, which is like a genre of things. But it's like they use the same musical cue every time. Like, it's actually animated rather well, but it's like, come on. But it's like such a disaster and like such a train wreck. Like, honestly, like, you have to ask yourself at some points, I'm like, do they know?
because it's like, at the very least, I can respect and fully agree and accept that 100 Girlfriends is 100% trash. It is the utmost cracked out harem fan service fulfillment show you can ever ask for, but it also doesn't sacrifice character for it.
I mean, it definitely has character. Citrus, I'm like, damn it, I just want, like, I am so mad that they never made more of Bloom Into You, because that's like, god damn it, I just want a fucking good Yuri. That's like not like a bunch of ick. But look, if I want a train wreck and I just want to see like a disaster piece of like, wow, someone really wrote this unironically. A Citrus is like the funniest fucking shit you will ever watch.
Like, to me, like, the isekai office worker is the trashy enough to be entertaining because of just how, like, it is unapologetic about its homoerotic overtones. Whereas something like A Gentle Noble's Vacation recommendation is, I wouldn't say it's ashamed of its homoerotic undertones. It's definitely very yaoi coded and design wise. Like, these guys are as thin as a rail and tall as hell. But it doesn't really want to be anything more than like this wholesome travel show, which that's fine. It's kind of boring because it's maybe a little too low key, but I'm fine with it. Like, but I'd still rather watch Isekai Office Worker because it's just more entertaining. And it doesn't help that, like, we're now getting, like, we have shonen at home kind of shonen action shows.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, Togen Anki is, like, the sloppiest, trashiest, most boring, generic shonen action show we have right now. Though Dead Account kind of gets close to that kind of notion of, like, it's a supernatural show that I heard was, like, nicknamed We Have Jujutsu Kaisen at Home. And yeah, I kind of get it because it's about how, like, the supernatural entities come alive through basically the dead internet theory, where dead accounts get basically possessed by spirits. And the heroes of our story are basically personifications of the type of people you are online and such. Like, you could do healing if you are, like, the one to touch up photos and such using Photoshop. If you are, like, a rage baiter, like our main character, he uses literal flame war weaponry and fighting, like fire and such, to take down everything. But it's also like, this is every boilerplate shonen action show. They literally have the cast of side characters, like, lined up in a row, standing there, ready to be introduced to the audience. And it's not even like sorry about it. It's like, these are our side characters. Please like them. I mean, it's still like a hot mess of a season, but I did enjoy going through this, even with everything going on in the world, which I understand people want escapism. That's great. We are doing our best to make these podcasts as escapist as possible, but sometimes we just gotta talk about the stuff that's happening in the real world, even if it's not fun. But at the very least, I hope that I can, at the very least, end this with my 5 recommendations of the season, with Journal with Witch, Sentenced to be a Hero, You and I Are Polar Opposites, In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, and I would say Shibo Yugi is my top 5 of the season. where the Darwin incident, the Invisible Man and his soon-to-be wife, and I would say Isekai Office Worker are my honorable mentions. I just sometimes wish they would either were animated better or they just did just a tiny bit more with their premises. Because otherwise, like, the worst one is An Adventurer's Daily Grind at age 29. Some of the other ones are bad because they botched their premise and execution, but at least they're not pedophile bait. So
Yeah,
The
thank God
barest
for
of
that.
minimums.
I know, which with anime, which we have that issue and such. So
No, but for real, I just have to go back. I'm like, either you be like the hottest of hot trash, or like, I honestly, this is my hot take. I'm just kind of tired of just okay.
well, it's like if you're in the anime industry, we're getting way too much, and it's all just being okay is not okay anymore. Whereas the American side of things, we're just like, just make something.
Yeah, like literally, it's the SpongeBob meme. Food, water, atmosphere, but it's like animation, healthcare, money.
Jobs. Stable economic jobs in the animation industry. Oh gosh. But yeah, that's it for this episode, and for the next one, we're gonna dive into some art, baby. We're gonna talk about good stuff. Because we're going to talk about the New York International Children's Film Festival. We're going to talk about some movies. And that includes Pixar's new movie, Hopper, baby. So, can't freaking wait.
Oh yeah, I am very excited for all of that. But until next time, Bree, where can everyone find you online?
If you wish to find me on the interwebs, you can find me at Crazy Lemur. That beats Sky, that's social. I am also on Instagram at LemursRoll1, where I just post more about my life, pics of my dog. Probably by the time this comes out, you'll see some pictures from the Philadelphia Flower Show, which is my annual flower convention thing that I do every year. So if you like pretty flowers, check out my Instagram.
Nice. And Cameron, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on the internet at Blue Sky. At camsiview.biz. I have my own website called camsiview.biz where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camsiview. You can find me there. Or you can find me in my contributions to Media Magpies, your new one-stop shop for written or video content for pop culture, film, and TV discourse. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media sites at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Blue Sky at Renegade Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube at Renegade Pop Culture or Organoid Zero. Find us on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You can escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.